Hello friends, today we'll discuss about Tailwind CSS. This is just an introductory session. I'm planning to create this kind of small videos in future. Tailwind, the ideology or the philosophy behind is a little bit different than the other traditional CSS framework, for example, Bootstrap. Tailwind doesn't give predefined components. Rather, it gives some kind of utility classes which you can, like a Lego box or puzzle pieces, you can combine together and create your own design. It give a complete flexibility and complete control to you to customize your design as per your wish. But it won't make you a better designer yourself. For the design, that is a different game altogether. So you need to good at Figma or Photoshop, or you have to come up with the design before entering to writing the Tailwind CSS code. And I would highly recommend that you should know about HTML is definitely a basic, and CSS as well. So without having good understanding about CSS, you can use Tailwind CSS, but it would be highly recommend that you know a little bit basic to intermediate about the CSS itself. You know what's going under the hood. And for example, this button will create. If you can just declutter it, and we can see that it has a blue background with the text with the submit and a bit rounded rectangular, and a little bit space in the left and right hand side and top and bottom. So for example, it is we can use a simple HTML uh, button attribute, and we can define classes. And the classes, what we see in Tailwind CSS, it is advisable or recommended that you no need to write any CSS. That is a bit interesting to know it. So all the utility classes you can use, and you can get your button ready. For example, the first type is the background blue color. So BG blue stands for background and blue color. So you can use BG red, BG green, and there are different combination of the colors available. And this 500 is the grayscale. So each color have the grayscale from 0 or 50 to the 900. So you can use any combination of color. So color palette is available to you. Let me show you quickly that the Tailwind CSS documentation is really excellent. They put lots of effort into putting the documentation. Once you understand about the nitty gritty, this documentation is your best friend. For example, the color there are different colors available. So you can choose these are the initially around 10 colors available for the default. So you no need to do any additional configuration or setup just to start using it. So if you see this 50, 100, 200 are a bit lighter in color, but if you go after 500, they are getting darker and darker. So they carefully evaluated this grayscale so that it is really very much helpful if you're designing a particular your website or any kind of UI components. And also, if you scroll below this page, you can see there are other plenty of colors available, like blue, gray, cool gray, and different pinkish kind of red and different colors. But they are not readily available. For leveraging that, you need to do some additional configuration, which can be I'll explain in a future tutorial how to configure. So you can use your own custom color palette. But if you see that your color coding or hex code is not available inside the Tailwind, definitely you can use some of your own color. So that is not very difficult to that. But I would highly recommend if you're creating for your side project or learning or just make any decent project. So this default color is much more helpful that you can use for designing anything. So now coming to the other thing, like text. If you see here is white color. So I sometimes get confused. Like busy blue, I am expecting like FZ stand for front foreground and color something like that. But it is you have to use text. It is I think matching consistent with the CSS. That's fine. Text white, text red, or text you can give any kind of different color to get that color. And also like font bold, the name is explicit enough. This is very much important utility. Utility you are going to use most of the time in the Tailwind CSS. The letters start with P and M. P stands for padding, M stands for margin. So if you give any number like P5, then it will apply the padding top, bottom, left, right. So if you need only in the left side, so you can do PL slash dash 10, then only the left side would be elongated or more space would be added. Similarly, margin will differentiate between two different elements, like two deep tag, the gap is known as mostly margin. But here, if you see our buttons, the left and right hand side, we have the same spacing. You know, this 12 doesn't really stand for pixel. They're using some relative REM methodology. I don't remember exactly the full form of it. So it is a kind of relative metric, which will definitely helpful in future. For example, if you to create a responsive design or for accessibility issue, if somebody user come into zoom the browser, so this REM will take care the your enter website will look and feel good. But you don't need to worry too much about that. Just play with that. If your tool is looking good to you, you use it, or if you reduce and increase it depending upon your shoot. So X and Y stand for this. If you remember a little bit from your mathematics studies in the childhood, like Y is a like vertical axis and X is a horizontal axis. Is X. So left hand side, instead of like writing PL12 and PR12, that will also work. But it is a short form. PX12 means it will apply the same spacing in the left hand side as well as in the right hand side. Similarly, PY4, which will give you equal spacing in the top or bottom, top and bottom. So we can definitely write PT 4 and PB, 4, but it is a shortened syntax. And here you no need to write margin because margin will differentiate between two different components, bottom and division. But because it is internally, the summit is a text inside it, so inside it only you have to give some spacing. So padding is very much helpful in this stage. And there are very excellent tutorial nowadays. If you see that most of the component usually use some kind of rounded corners. But there are different flavors of rounded corner. We'll just see in some example. And let us try to. There is this excellent, from URL in the Tailwind CSS only provided, play.tailwindcss.com. You can Google it, or I'll give this link in the description. So here you can experiment as you like. So only additional thing I have added, like margin I have added, just to give, otherwise it will come in the just top. So I just given some margin so that it will be coming into a little bit center. That's fine. But this is the same thing. Like we have background blue color, text white, font and pixel and accent, etc., etc. And if you want to change it to 500 to 900, so if you can see, this is a darker blue color. And you can change this different color to, as I said, red. It is coming as red color. So you can just change this grayscale to 3. It is pinkish color. So you can just keep on experimenting. It is very much easy and flexible, right? And text, if you can want to change to black, and auto completion is coming, so you can black. Okay. So instead of px12, if you remove it, so see this, there is no gap in the left hand side as well as the right hand side. So we can give like P20. Just let me remove this one. So see, it applies that spacing in all the places. Because if you give only px20, it is only apply the spacing in the left hand side as well as the right hand side. So if you do only pl20 on the left hand side, interesting, isn't it? So if you want to do this, you can do like this way also, right hand side, left and right hand side both. So similarly, you can apply padding in P. So it will give the autocomplete as well. PT, let's say we are using 10, top padding 10. And we can give the padding as the bottom as well. You can keep on changing the values. There is no good or bad thing. Okay. Now there is no need for all this thing. Just for short form syntax. Px, let's say 10. Py5. This is how it looks like. And there are rounded also, different flavor of rounded. You can use the simply rounded, you'll get tiny bit of rounded, isn't it? You can see it. I'm getting difficulty in seeing it, but I think you can see that a little bit tiny rounded. And if you do that, so you rounded non, SM, all things small, medium, large. If you let's say do 3XL, what will happen? See, it looks more rounded. Full, if you do, it will give you full rounded. So you can just play around with this. Hope you like today's tutorial. This is just a kind of introduction. In the coming, I'll try to create different design a different UI component, and I'll try to explain how this fit together and how you can achieve in Tailwind CSS. Have a good day ahead, guys. Bye bye.